sometimes I think my perspective on airsoft is a little bit different from the majority of people that get into airsoft. It seems to me the majority of folks that get into airsoft are either people that were into paintball that are looking for a different venue, or on the other hand, they're folks that are just big video gamers that are big fans of Call of Duty and those kind of games and want to actually sort of live out those fantasies in a real kind of way, where I really never really did much of either one of them. In the world that I came from, when you pointed a gun at something, you were trying to kill it. So playing a game that you were shooting guns at each other and not trying to hurt each other is sort of a little, frankly, bizarre to me. But for whatever reason, I've gotten into this sport, and you know, it's working out pretty well. But I've noticed something that, you know, there's really two kinds of people that get into airsoft that just sort of wreck it for everybody else. And that's one thing that if you're looking to get into this sport, you really have to sort of take these people with a grain of salt, because if you let them bug you, they will absolutely ruin your day. And those are the cheaters and the whiners. And they're just sort of, for whatever reason, these two kinds of people just butt heads the whole time and just ruin the game for everybody. Now, I mentioned that my background is a little bit different from a lot of the guys that are getting into airsoft, in that I think it sort of colors my expectations differently than it does theirs when they're getting into the game. For instance, if you're a video gamer, you're used to shooting at things on the screen that you either shoot them or you don't. It's not like the bad guys on a video game are going to somehow cheat and pretend to have not gotten hit. Same thing with paintball. If you shoot somebody with a paintball, they're going to have a big splat on their uniform, so there's no real denying the fact of whether or not you hit your target. Now, to me, airsoft, there's a huge amount of gray area, or just margin for error when you're shooting people with 6mm plastic BBs. First of all, the barrels that are in these guns are not rifled, so there's a lot of error when you're firing the guns as far as where the bullets are going. These are not rifled guns, and they have a really short effective range of what I would say was probably about 25 to 100 feet maximum. I know there's some of you guys out there that claim to hit targets out to 200 feet, but I gotta say, I think you're full of crap. So that's number one. You're not going to hit everything that you shoot at. Number two, there's also just the human factor, that nobody is that good that they're always going to shoot everything that they shoot at. And a lot of the times there's just the factor of having adrenaline, or just you got your muscles pumping and you're running around and you're trying to shoot other people. You're not going to be the same as if you're sitting on a target range with a stable platform shooting at a target that's sitting still. So you're not always going to hit your target. Now, that causes a lot of problems with some people, where they just cannot accept the fact that they shot somebody and they didn't call their hits. I don't know if they get some sort of secret thing out of shooting somebody and having them absolutely admit the fact that they got hit, or it just absolutely bugs some of their sensibilities that, you know, somehow they're getting robbed of some experience of shooting somebody. Whatever it is, some people just have a frickin' hard time with the fact that they shot somebody and the other guy never knew about it. It's sort of like I guess like a tree falling over in the woods and nobody was there to hear about it. I guess they need to have somebody, you know, doing a dance over the fact that they just shot somebody. Maybe that's it. But for whatever reason, if you're getting into airsoft, it's important to know that sometimes you are going to shoot people and they're never even going to know about it. And it's not that they're like cheaters, it's just that the fact that they're just not frickin' aware of the fact that they got hit. Of course, it's also important to note that there are some people out there that just blatantly don't call their hits. For whatever reason, they've got some sort of psychological block or mental block that they can't accept the fact that somebody shot them, or they just, I don't know, maybe it's laziness. They don't feel like going back and taking the 10-yard walk back to the respawn area to start over again. Or maybe it's the fact that they paid a few bucks to play airsoft and they feel robbed if they have to take a 10-second break to wait for the end of the round to start to play the next round. Or maybe it's just that they just can't believe the fact that somebody else was actually getting the drop on them and shot them. There are a few people that are out there that just don't call their hits. Now, I find for the most part, they're either very young kids that just nobody's really explained the game to them, or they just don't understand how it works, or it's just knuckleheads that just cannot accept the fact that somebody shot them. Now, this all causes a bit of a problem for me, where I'm trying to run a venue where, you know, I'm trying to make everybody happy that's there. The cheaters, the whiners, and the regular folks that are there. They all paid the same amount of money, and they're all trying to basically do the same thing. So I have to sort of balance all of this stuff with a certain amount of common sense to make it work for everybody. Yes, there are times when you're going to shoot somebody that they're not going to feel it. Yes, you are sometimes going to shoot somebody and they felt it and they're not going to call it. But you can't let that ruin the game for everybody else. Most people are good with the fact that they know that they shot somebody and they can just live with that whether the person called the hit or not. The thing that we're trying to do is to balance out a certain amount of common sense with making the game enjoyable for everybody without sitting there and criticizing everybody or accusing every single person of cheating that didn't call a hit. Because if you did that, we'd sit there yelling at everybody all the time and nobody would have any fun at all. So we have to come up with creative ways to sort of balance this out where we can sort of regulate the game without making it completely unenjoyable. So the way that we're dealing with it over at our Airsoft Arena is what we ask the people to do is to come to us and let us make the determination. Rather than everybody sitting out there and accusing everybody of not playing by the rules, if you see somebody not calling their hits, what you need to do is go to the referee and point the guy out, and the referee will monitor them. Now, there are people, like I said, that occasionally will get hit by a round and not call their hit just because they didn't feel it, and that kind of thing happens. But by and large, the people that are not calling their hits do it on a regular basis, so it's pretty easy to pick those people out and know that they're the ones that are cheating. And once we realize that, what we make them do is wear the big pink cheater headband so everybody can know that they don't play by the rules. Now, my hope is that by doing this, that this will shame people into playing by the rules, or at least the fear of being called out and looking like an idiot will be enough to make people want to play by the rules. So this is something new that we're trying out, and so far it's actually been working pretty well. One of the really nice things about this is it sort of takes both the cheaters and the whiners out of the equation, where they're not sitting there and constantly taking it upon themselves to be the referee, and lets our referees make the determination, and everybody else gets to enjoy the game and not have to listen to a bunch of petty little arguments going on as to whether or not somebody had a BB bounce off of them. One of the things that causes a problem for me, especially with the whiners, is that they try to color my opinion of other people in a way that's not always fair. Where they'll pull me aside and say, you see that guy over there? I played with him at like 3 or 4 other places. I've been on ops with him. He never calls his hits and he's always cheating. And you know, you should probably not let that guy in here or whatever. That's not always fair, because I've gotten to know some of those people and I found out that they were just fine. In fact, I found out through a process of knowing a bunch of other people that the guy whining and doing all the accusing is actually probably more guilty of the very behavior that he's accusing everybody else of. So from my perspective, I really can't just take one person's opinion of another person and then form an opinion of them, because it's not really fair. Because if the person is coming to my place and they're acting in a way that's acceptable, you know, whatever problems you guys have outside of the arena is between you and you, not between me and them. If I see some kind of behavior that's not acceptable to me, then I'll deal with it personally. But whatever conflict you guys have with your personalities or whatever, you can't really drag me into it, because it's not fair. And you know, that's one thing that you don't really take into account when you're playing Airsoft, is that if you really don't like somebody, this is the great thing about Airsoft. You can blast the living crap out of each other when you go in the arena, so what the hell's the problem? So that's how we're dealing with it, and I'm kind of curious about some of you guys that play at other arenas or other venues, how exactly you deal with the cheating and the whining issues, because, you know, it can potentially ruin the experience for everybody else that's playing, and I'm curious to see how we can deal with this in a way that's not going to piss everybody off. Because in the end, this is a business, and I want everybody to be happy. I want it to be a good experience for everybody. I'm not getting in this to be a freaking disciplinarian. If I was, I would have been a high school principal or something. I'm doing this because people really enjoy playing the sport, and I like providing a place that they can do it in a safe and enjoyable way. And that's what it's all about for me. So if you want to find out more about what we're doing, check us out on our website at replayairsoft.com, or come on down to the arena. We're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can try it out for yourself and just play by the rules and don't frickin' whine about it, and everybody will get along. So until the next time, don't let the bastards get you down.